Hello and welcome to another Norfield video. In this video we're going to be looking at the new Norfield 1120 double end trim saw. We're going to be setting it up so it'll cut square and miters and correct the correct length. In order to do the setup, we're going to have to take a couple of guards off. We're going to take the top guards off over the saw assemblies and the feed guards. The saw assembly guards have bolts in slotted holes. We should be able to just loosen these bolts up and the two on the end. Take the guard off. The saw assembly guard has two bolts on the front and two bolts on the back that are also in slotted holes, so we can just loosen them up and slip them off. We've got the upper guards and the feed guards removed. Now we can set the saw up. So we're going to set both of the saws at 90 degrees. And we'll start with setting the stop dog under here. So this is the stop dog that stops the trim when it comes in and locates it in the correct position to be cut. So the first thing we need to do is set this stop dog either forward or back as necessary to get the trim to stop square with the saw. To adjust the stop dog forward or back, we're going to loosen these two bolts here. Once these are loose, then we can slide the whole stop dog assembly forward and backward as necessary to get it into adjustment. So the position of the dog needs to be so that the back edge of the trim is very close to a ½ an inch from this edge of the aluminum, and you can sight down through there and get that position that way. So we got the ½ inch past the aluminum at this end over here. We need to do the same thing at this end down here. So the feed assembly pulls the board in. The board drops down to here. This dog will pull the feed assembly. The board drops down here. The feed assembly will pull the board in until it comes in past the stop dog that we've just adjusted. So I have the power on and the air off so that I can pull this ahead and still watch the lights on the sensors. When this pulls all the way up, it should contact the return stops here, and the face of this dog needs to be past the stop dog by at least ¼ of an inch. So this is the return sensor. So when the feed assembly gets all the way out to its return position, this sensor needs to light up. That sensor should be adjusted so that it comes on just before it gets to the end of the stroke, but not too far. If it's too far, it may not make it all the way to the stop and may not bring the trim all the way past the stop dog. We want to be sure that when the light comes on, right there, even though we're not up against the stop here, that this dog here is past the stop dog there. So when we turn the air back on again, we want to see that assembly return back to the front, and the light on this sensor comes on. This is the home sensor telling it that it's ready to feed. To set for the trim thickness, we're going to put two pieces of the trim we're going to cut in there and adjust these down so that the hold down skis are just in contact with the trim. So there's just a little tension against those to hold them in place. So we're going to take two short pieces of trim, set the saw very narrow. I'm going to cut one with a 45 at this end and a 90 at this end, the other with a 45 at this end and a 90 at this end, without changing the length of the saw. That'll give me both 45s and both 90s that I can check to see if they are correct. All right, so I'm going to start the saw and we'll do that. short legs, left and right. We can check the miters to see that they're correct. That miter was cut with the saw to my right. This miter cut with the saw to my left. We can also check the 90s to see if they're correct. Both left and right. Then when we've done that, we're comfortable with the 90s and the 45s. We take the two pieces, set them back to back, line up the miters on this end, and then check to see if the links are the same. And they should be very, very close to the same length, which they are.